Morning everybody, welcome to Arky Homesteader channel. I'm gonna make some bread today. I never used to bake, and recently I started doing it, and I actually just kind of looked this recipe up on the internet, and I'm going to share it with you today. So we're going to start with 2.5 cups of warm water. Get yourself a big old mixing bowl. 1 tablespoon of yeast. Half a cup of sugar. I'm going to use brown sugar for this. No, that doesn't fit. Use a half cup. You can use more or less. To be honest with you, I mean, too much sugar is not good for you, but it makes it taste good. So I'll mix that in also. And let's see, I got 2 teaspoons of salt. I use uniodized salt. You can use sea salt. I thought I had some sea salt, but I don't see it, so we'll just use this. All right, and that's just 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4 ingredients, and then I mix it up real good. Jeannie's photographing this for me today, and after we got done arguing about it, we finally got a plan. So mix it up real good. That yeast is kind of balling up there a little bit, but just mix it up. Warm water usually dissolves it pretty quick. And then I'm going to add 5 cups of flour, and I will keep a 1/6 cup to the side for sprinkling my counter and putting on my hands. Can you photograph this one? That's 2 cups. That's 4. And 5, and then I keep one aside. I sprinkle some on the counter, so when I need it, I can do it there. And then I mix the whole batch up with a spoon. You can do this with a blender if you got one. They have the dough blenders that are real nice, but I don't have one of those. So we just use a spoon. And we mix it up until it's kind of starts getting doughy. Big thing about when you're doing this, it tends to stick to everything, including your hands. Always wash your hands real good before you do this, or you'll end up transferring germs and whatnot. But I like to get a lot of flour on my hands, and then I kind of mix it all up by hand. Jeannie, would you sprinkle some flour in there, please? I can do it. Yeah, thank you. And if you don't do this, it will stick to your hand so bad that you can't hardly turn it. But I'll mix it up real good till it starts turning into kind of a clay-like substance. All you experienced bread makers are probably laughing at me. But I started doing this about a year ago. And I got tired of buying store-bought bread. I didn't really like the taste of it. Unless you buy a real expensive loaf, they don't taste very good. And I just said, you know, heck, I could do that. So I went on the internet and I just looked up a few recipes. And this is the one I came up with, and it's my favorite. And I just take her and I keep sprinkling flour on it so it doesn't get too sticky. And we just knead the heck out of it. My wife more or less taught me how to do this because she's a better cook than I am, and I like to cook, but she knows all the little secrets of kneading. Now some people knead a little different, but I like to make a fist and do it because if I use my fingers like this, it hurts my arthritis. But I just keep that flour on the table there on the countertop, and I just knead the heck out of it. And if it starts getting a little sticky, I sprinkle some flour on it. And I just fold it over and fold it over and keep sprinkling. I tend to make a big mess in the kitchen. Jeannie says that when I cook, I dirty every pot and dish in the house. And that's true. But it's been kneaded pretty good. I'm just going to make a big ball out of it. It's not really sticking in my hands now. A little bit, not much. And I make a ball like that, and then I set it back into the bowl. And then I cover it with a clean towel. And I'll let it sit like that for about 2 hours in a warm area, and it'll rise. And then in 2 hours, we'll continue the film, and I'll show you how I'll knead it again, and then I'll put it in my baking pans, and then we'll let it rise a second time. It takes about total cooking and making the bread and dough, total time's about 5 hours. So it takes 2 hours to rise it the first time, then about 2 hours to rise it the second time, and then about 40 minutes to cook it. So in all in between, it's about 5 hours to make bread. I've made enough here for 2 loaves. So we'll get 2 loaves out of it. That usually lasts us a little over a week or so. All right, we'll continue on here in a minute. All right, it's been almost 2 hours. Look at the dough. It's really raised up real good. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to spray oil on my 2 bread pans. Like I said, we made enough dough to make 2 loaves. And I just coat these with oil. This is a non-stick, but I spray it anyway. I take the chance. And then I also spray a big knife. And you'll see why here in a second. Alright, I'm going to take and cut that dough right in half. And the reason I sprayed that knife is so the dough doesn't stick to it. Okay, we'll cut it right in half. Get a little flour on my hands. Put some on the counter. Oh, separate that. That didn't separate too good. Oh. Dough's really sticky. Alright, I take half of it out. We're going to knead it again. It's a good idea to keep that a little bit of that flour handy, because if you don't, you'll have dough stuck to everything. We'll go ahead and do both of these loaves that way. And knead them up real good. Doesn't take very long. Like I say, I don't knead like normal people do. I use my fist. I kind of beat it into submission. But you can feel it just gets real soft, and you can tell it's raising already. And then I kind of elongate it a little bit. Drop it into the pan. Set it to the side. We'll do the other one now. Get it out. Get it coated with some flour. After you've done this a few times, you can almost get a feel for the dough. It'll feel real, almost silky smooth. And when you press on it, it kind of returns back to shape. And after you've done it 10 or 12 times, you can tell that it's going to be a good loaf. It'll just feel right. I can't quite describe it, but I can tell. Like I say, I kind of elongated it a little. I set it in there. Now we're going to take both those pans, set them side by side. We're going to cover them again with a towel. And we'll let them rise. Usually it takes a couple hours. You'll see it raise up. And in a couple hours I'll check it. Try not to put your pans too close together because the dough will come out and swell over the sides and they'll attach to each other. Then they're really hard to get apart. So either cover them separately or make sure you got a big enough towel you can do both of them spread apart. Alright, we're going to let them set like that. They're going to rise again. And we're going to come back in 2 hours and then we're going to bake them. And I'll show you how to do that when we get to it. Alright, you can see the two loaves have raised. One is higher than the other. I think I put a little less dough in this one. So I think what I'm going to do, see that one's ready to go. This one I'm going to let go a little longer, and we'll go ahead and bake this one. And I got my oven preheated to 350, and we're going to put it in there for 40 minutes. And after that's done, we'll bring her out and let you have a look at it. All right. Okay, the timer went off. It's been 40 minutes. And we got a nice brown loaf of bread here. Got a little rack that I let them cool off on. And we're going to go ahead and put this loaf in. I let it go a little longer because it hadn't risen as high as the other one. And we'll put this one in for 40 minutes. Remember, 350 degrees for 40 minutes per loaf. Or if you put them both in at the same time. All right, and there you go. You got a nice loaf of bread. That's farm fresh. I'll tell you, I just love it. This is how we make most of our bread. We try not to buy store-bought too much. We really don't like store-bought. And it's not that hard. If I can do it, you can too. Thanks a lot. Please like and subscribe.